أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين، والصلاة والسلام وتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقتلتهم وغاصب حقوقهم ومنكري فضائلهم ملعونين. أما بعد، قال المعصوم عليه السلام: فلعمري ما الإمام إلا العامل بالكتاب والآخذ بالقسط والدائن بالحق والحابس نفسه في ذات الله. For the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shahada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'adham Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman, the one who is Rahim. The seventh night of the holy month is upon us, and it's pertinent at this point to ask ourselves that what is it that we have changed in our lives? Because we have been speaking about the message of Abu Abdullah being a message of reform, being a message of change, being a message of revolution. What is it that I have changed in my life? What is it that I have gained? What are those tangible things that I can say that yes, from this point on, for the sake of Imam al-Hussein, I will not bring these things into my personality again. I will remove these bad habits that I have. Because if I've managed to do that, or I am intending to do that, then that is the message of Karbala. That is why Abu Abdullah is alive today. His message is immortal because the values that he stood for, the God for whom he stood, is immortal and eternal. Those that get connected with Abu Abdullah, they too become immortal, they too become eternal, even if that is the earth that is associated to Abu Abdullah. All the other Imams are shaheed, all the other Imams tasted martyrdom, but yet there is nowhere that you can go and take the soil of the grave of any of the A'imma and consume it. The consumption of any soil, any earth is not allowed. It is haram except for the earth of Abu Abdullah. The earth of Karbala, within that area surrounding the grave of Abu Abdullah, that Khaq-i-Shifa is the only earth that is allowed for a believer to consume. Outside of that, all other earth is not allowed for a person to consume. The status of Abu Abdullah is such that that earth of Karbala, upon which his holy blood spilled, not just his blood, but the blood of those that followed him, those that dedicated and sacrificed their very lives for him, those that gave up everything for the sake of their Imam and for the sake of Allah, their blood is mixed with there. And Allah says that's because their stance was unique, because their stand was unique, this earth itself shall be unique amongst all other earth. There's a famous story of an alim. They say during his time there was a great magician that came, and the trick or the ability this magician had was that he could tell you whatever you had in your hand. And he would look at the hand of the person and say, this person is hiding this. Such that the king of the time would call different people, they would hold things in their hand, and this individual would say straight away that this is what this person has in their hand. He has a key in his hand, or he has a gold dirham in his hand. Such that the people began to believe him to be a prophet. They began to believe him to be a prophet and began to follow him. The king became afraid that now the masses were beginning to follow this individual. So they turned to this alim of the time. The alim says, okay, let me meet with him. So he enters the king of the court. The court of the king. He places within his hand something. He holds it. He says, now tell me, what is it that I hold in my hand? The magician goes quiet. For a short while, he looks at the hand quiet. The king says, what is it? You can't see? Has your power finished? He says, no, it is not that I cannot see. It is not that I do not know what is in his hand. What I'm worried about, what I'm thinking is, where did he get it from? They say, what do you see within his hand? He says, I see that he holds the soil from heaven itself in his hands. What I am concerned about, what I am perplexed about is, where did he get it from? They say to the alim, show us what is in your hand. He opens up his hand and lowers the tasbih made of the khak of Karbala. The tasbih made of the earth of Karbala. That earth that becomes associated to Aba Abdullah. Within it is shifa'ah. Within it is salvation. That you enter that earth. You go for the ziyarah of Aba Abdullah. And they say the Za'ir of Sayyid al-Shuhada, just because he's treaded upon the earth of Karbala. Just because he has entered that land of Karbala and gone for the ziyarat of Sayyid al-Shuhada. When he returns for 2 weeks, his hands have shifa'a in them. For 2 weeks, his hands have shifa'a in them. I personally know of a very close alim to us. He had some boils, some sort of growths on his neck. The doctors didn't know what it was, and they just kept on growing. A friend of mine went to visit him. The alim says that I heard that you've been to Karbala. He says, yes. He says, how long has it been? He says, Maulana, it's only been a week. He says, give me your hand. He says, give me your hand. He took his hand, he rubbed it against his neck. He says, it will be fine. He says, it will be fine. Within a short period of time, that growth had disappeared. Those that get associated to Aba Abdullah, they have shifa'a. The earth that surrounds his qabr has shifa'a. Those alams, those zarih, those shabih that you make, they have the power of shifa'a. Such is the position of Aba Abdullah. Such is the status of Imam al-Hussein. And I said last night, then what of this body that is touched against the zari of Imam al-Hussein? Will I not give it the same importance that I do to a cloth that I've rubbed against the zari of Imam al-Hussein? Sayyid al-Shuhada holds a unique position. The Shuhada of Karbala, they hold a unique position. The mothers of the Shuhada, Hazrat al-Banin, is not present within Karbala, but yet her sacrifice of her sons. They say if you have the most difficult problem in your life, Ayatollah Mujtahidi Tehrani would say, says that if you have a difficulty in your life, any sort of problem that you can't see a solution for, he says, then waqf, recite a whole Quran and give the thawab of it to Hazrat al-Banin. Because if you do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept your hajat. Get do wasila of Hazrat al-Baneen. If you want that shifa, anyone that is associated to Karbala, any individual that is there within that land with Abu Abdullah, that person, they hold a unique position. Let us become associated to Imam al-Hussein truly by understanding why he went to Karbala. And when we understand that, then we'll see that our lives begin to change. That now when I raise my hands for dua, Allah answers. Du'as in Karbala, there are so many. At times we think, Karbala was just about bloodshed, Karbala was just about dhulm, Karbala was just about oppression. No, Karbala is far more than that. There is a collection of du'as that Sayyid al-Shuhada recites in Karbala. One of his du'a that he recites in Karbala, at that point of difficulty, they say that any individual that recites that dua, Allah will solve problems for him. It dispels depression from an individual. That Abu Abdullah recited this at such a difficult time. It's a short dua. There are du'as in Karbala where Abu Abdullah sends la'an upon individuals. When Imam al-Hussein begins to dig the trench around the Khayyam, because where the tents were, in order to stop an attack from coming from the back, Abu Abdullah dug a trench and filled it with fire. One individual from the army of Yazid by the name of Abdullah ibn Hawza, he looks towards Abu Abdullah. He says, Hussein, you have such a love for going towards the fire. He says, don't worry, we'll send you soon towards the fire. Abu Abdullah raises his hands. He says, Oh Allah, huzhu bin nar. Says, show him, burn him with the fire. At that moment, the horse of Abdullah ibn Hawza lifts up. It throws him off into the fire and he dies. The whole of Karbala revolves around a central theme, and that is submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every single individual is annihilated in the love of Allah. And to be able to understand that, we've been looking at the sermons, at the letters that Abu Abdullah wrote or gave. Those sermons, those letters that he gave along the way from Medina to Mecca, from Mecca to Karbala. And yesterday we concluded looking at the letter that Abu Abdullah sent to the people of Basra. Today I want to look at the letter that Abu Abdullah sends with Muslim ibn Aqil. You see, we hear a lot of these things, and over the years we've heard it over and over. Imam sent a letter to Muslim ibn Aqil to the people of Kufa. Imam sent a letter to the people of Basra. Sayyida Zainab gave a khutbah. Imam Hussein gave a khutbah. Imam al-Sajjad gave a khutbah. But nowhere have we ever had the chance to pick up a book and actually read it. What is it that the Imam wanted? What is it that the Imam was asking? What is it that Sayyida Zainab was saying? To understand Karbala is not enough that you just come and listen to me or listen to any other alim. In 1 hour, in 45 minutes, we cannot give you the message of Karbala. The message of Karbala, the message of Islam is far greater. We as youth need to take the initiative to continue reading, to learning, to pondering over the religion, to see exactly what it is Imam al-Hussein is saying. Could you imagine going out to do tabligh to someone? Someone comes and asks you, what's all this about? And you say, oh, well, you tell them the story, and then, they say, okay, so what did your Imam actually write to the people of Kufa? Why did they write to him? What did they write to him? These are genuine, questions. These are what the Nawasib are using against us right now. If we don't have an answer, that's why in droves and droves we're losing our youth. Not because Islam or Tashayyu or Ahl al-Bayt is any way naqis, na'udhu billah, is in any way lacking in any way. But because we have chosen not to study the religion. We've chosen not to ponder over it. Rather we take a cultural aspect of Islam and we think, yes, this is Islam. We get put off by the culture, so we get put off by Islam. You look at all these main big atheists or previous Muslims or reformist Muslims or people that have left Islam. And you look into their stories, all of their stories are the same. Culture. They mistake culture for Islam. They mistake the actions of Muslims for Islam. Our role is to find the true Muhammadan Islam. To go back to the truth that the Holy Prophet brought. And that's a truth that Abu Abdullah raised in Karbala. So the people of Kufa, following the death of Muawiyah, sent letters. But it's not as simple, as straightforward as that. There were 3 sets of letters that were sent. In Kufa, there were 3 groups of people. The first was the group that were the Nawasib, or those that were enemies of Ahl al-Bayt, or what we call opportunists. The second group, and the opportunists were the largest group. The second group were a group of people that were neither here nor there. They were just tired of the situation, not necessarily followers of Ahl al-Bayt, but they were just tired of whatever situation they were in. The second group. The third and the smallest group was the group of the followers of Amirul Mu'mineen. And such a small group they were that when Sulaiman calls them to his home upon the death of Muawiyah and says that Muawiyah has died, let us write to Abu Abdullah. There was enough people, his small house, that they could all fit in there. That's how many main Shi'as there were in Kufa at that time. And the first letter goes from this group of individuals, all of whom we can trace where they were. All of whom were either killed before Karbala, imprisoned by Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, or they made their way to Karbala. People like Habib ibn Mudahir, Muslim ibn Awsaja. People like Hani ibn Urwa were killed before. So you have this first group. The second group, they're neither here nor there. They're known as the Amma, the normal, sort of Shias. They didn't mind who was in power as long as, they could carry on with their life. They didn't like Muawiyah because he imposed too many taxes, he was oppressive. And they didn't like Yazid because they knew of his bad character. But they didn't really have a huge inclination towards Ahl al-Bayt. And the third group were those that are the opportunists. Those are people like individuals that amongst them, Shabas ibn Rabi' is one of those individuals. Shabas ibn Rabi' is the one that writes a letter to Abu Abdullah from the third group. In the third letter, he writes it to Abu Abdullah. But then Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad comes, he changes and joins Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, joins the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, goes to Karbala, fights against Abu Abdullah. Mukhtar rises, he joins Mukhtar. Ibn Zubayr rises, he joins Ibn Zubayr after Mukhtar has been killed. Then after Zubayr has been killed, then he goes to another group. And like this, he jumped from one group to another, jumping from one side to another. This is the third group. Let's look at their letters and then we'll go to the letter of Abu Abdullah and try and draw out lessons for ourselves, practical within our day-to-day lives. The first letter that goes from the Shi'as, the true Shi'as, they write to the Imam, "We do not have any leader who could lead us in war. Therefore, please come to us so that through you we can gather aid towards the truth." And Nu'man ibn Bashir, at the current governor of Kufa before Ubaidullah is sent, Nu'man ibn Bashir is in Darul Amara. We neither attend Friday prayers nor Eid prayers with him. When we get the news that you are coming, we will expel him and send him to Syria. Wassalam. This is the first set of letters that is signed by these Shia of Ahlul Bayt. One letter signed by these Shia of Ahlul Bayt. This reaches Abu Abdullah on the 10th of Ramadan in Mecca. Yeah, so this is now where the Imam makes his intention that he will leave. This small group of Shia begin now to tell the Amma, they begin to spread the word that we have invited Abu Abdullah to come here. Now those that were neither here nor there, they realized the son of Rasulullah, the grandson of the Prophet, this is a good shout. He will be fair to us, fairer than Yazid, fairer than Muawiyah. So they too now begin to write letters. Then these guys are the ones in the middle. But there's hatred of Bani Umayyah amongst them. So now these individuals, they begin to write. Their letter says, come quickly because the people are awaiting you and are not ready to deem anyone as their leader but you. Therefore make haste. Come quickly. This now goes as a bulk to Abu Abdullah, various letters, but with the same thing. The third set of letters now, when it trickles down from the in-between Muslims to these opportunists that were with Muawiyah, that are with Yazid, that are with Nu'man ibn Bashir, but now they realize that the vast majority of society the vast majority of Kufa is going to go and join Abu Abdullah. So they too think, right, let's get on the bandwagon. So these individuals write, says, fields are flourishing again. Trees are bearing fruits and ponds are flowing. Thus you can come whenever you want towards an army that is prepared for you. Note the difference in the tone of all three letters. The first letter is totally drowned in ma'rifah of the Imam. We want you to come and lead us. We want you to gather us towards haqq, towards the truth. We want to expel Nu'man ibn Bashir. The second letter, again, is calling Imam that we are awaiting you. Come quickly. We're not ready to take any other leaders. We want you to be the leader. The third group, the third letter is drowned in things of the dunya. See how they refer. The trees are growing, the flowers are blossoming, the ponds are flowing. It's all about their obsession with the dunya. Now it is this third group that sell out Muslim ibn Aqil. And this second group are the group of individuals who, when Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad comes, la'anatullah alayh, they join him out of fear. So, and the third group, or the first group that sent the letter from the actual Shias, they're the ones that remain with Abu Abdullah, either make their way to Karbala, and there's a whole list of those that came out to Karbala, or there's such difficulties in Kufa that they can't come. Because when Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad comes to Kufa, the first thing that he does is now start to arrest people like Hani ibn Urwa, Mukhtar al-Thaqafi. He arrests these main individuals, places them in prison, as well as other Shia of Ahlul Bayt. Then what he does, he sets to work buying out all the middle group, those that were neither here nor there. The third thing that he does, he sets up a curfew within Kufa, so there's no free movement anymore between the areas of Kufa. He places a garrison, he places a checkpoint outside of Kufa, and then he sets up patrols in the deserts that surround Kufa, so that no one can enter, no one can leave, unless through great luck. Then the other thing that he does is he starts to pay off people. Those that he cannot pay off, he goes towards their families and starts the rumor that tomorrow, this is the night that Muslim is leading Salat al-Maghrib in Masjid Kufa, where they say there were thousands behind him. They say that the rumor is started that tomorrow Yazid has sent an army from Sham and will wipe out everyone who is by the side of Muslim ibn Aqil. The women folk and the children come and they grab their fathers, they grab their husbands, they look, there's an army coming, leave this, we're not getting involved in this. And because they were the middle group, neither here nor there, not of staunch resolve either way, they go home. and Hazrat Muslim is left alone. Those other Shias that were there, because of the amount of spies, the amount of noise that was made in Kufa, everyone was separated. There was no communication between any of the followers of Ahlul Bayt, because he'd made sure that he caused so much friction, so much distortion of information amongst the people of Kufa. Because then he started a second rumor about Abdullah has returned to Mecca and has decided not to come to Kufa, and that's it. So all this confusion, amongst all of this confusion, this is how Muslim ibn Aqil is left alone. However, the letter of Muslim. So the Imam now writes from Mecca this letter. من حسين بن علي إلى ملاء من المؤمنين والمسلمين. أما بعد. He says that from Husayn ibn Ali to the believers of Iraq, says, Hani and Sa'id, your last messengers have brought your letters. I have read what you have written and pondered over it. You have written that you do not have an Imam and asked me to come to you, so that Allah may perhaps draw you together on truth and guidance through me. Now I am sending to you my cousin Muslim ibn Aqil, whom I have full confidence. Thiqati, though my confident. The individual who I confide in. Muslim ibn Aqil is no ordinary individual. That the Imam is saying that he is the one whom I have total confidence in. If he writes to me to say that your elders and wise men confirm what your messengers say and what you have written in your letters, I may proceed towards you soon. I swear by my life. Now here is where the Imam, and the focus of our lecture today is where the Imam highlights what the characteristics of the Imam are. Of any individual that claims Imamat, what are the characteristics? The Imam says, فَلَا عَمْرِ مَا الْإِمَامِ, by Allah, the one who has my life in his hands, إِلَّا الْعَامِلُ بِالْكِتَابِ, then the Imam is none but the one that orders from the book of Allah. وَالْآخِذُ بِالْقِسْطِ, and establishes justice upon the earth. وَالدَّائِنُ بِالْحَقِّ, and he follows the religion of truth and establishes it. وَالْحَابِسُ نَفْسُهُ عِلَى ذَاتِ اللَّهِ, and he is the individual that has annihilated his nafs fi dhatillah, within the essence of God. He no longer has his own desires, has nothing that he desires except that which is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These 4 points are what Imam sends to the people of Kufa. Then the whole story of Muslim ibn Aqil and Hani and all of that we've already explained. And it's interesting that the Imam holds on to their letters. When Hur stops the Imam, one of the things that Imam does, when Imam keeps on saying, you are the ones that called me, you are the ones that called me, Hur steps forward. He says, by Allah, I never saw, nor did I write any such letter. I have no knowledge of such letters that went to you. The Imam then orders for the sacks to be brought, and he opens them up and he spills them out in front of the people of Kufa. And he says, were you not the one that wrote this letter? You're the one that has signed this letter. Even on the day of Ashura, when Hur goes out, Hur, again, one of the sermons that Hur gives before fighting is that you are the ones that called him, and you are the ones that are now intent on killing him. You have no shame. So these were the mass amount of people that were again. And so the Imam is for explaining for them what the role of an Imam is. So the first is that the role of the Imam is إِلَّا الْعَامِلُ بِالْكِتَابِ. He is none but the one that orders from the book of Allah. The Imams are those that have total control over the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have total knowledge of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. From start to end, they not only do they possess knowledge, but they are Quran and Natiq. They are the speaking, they are the walking, talking Qurans of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran comes down, the seerah of the Imam gives tafsir of it. The Quran reveals an ayah, the Imams explain it. In fact, not just the Quran. When Amirul Mu'mineen Mu'mineen says to the people, Saluni, Saluni, ask me, ask me. He says to them, ask me. And if you want your answer from the Zabur, I will give it to you from Zabur. If you want the answer from Injil, I will give it to you from Injil. If you want it from the Tawrat, I will give it to you from the Tawrat. If you ask for me from the Quran, I will give it to you from the Quran. And such answers Ali will give you that the books themselves will cry out, Sadaqa Ali ibn Abi Talib, the son of Abu Talib tells truth. This is Imam, the one that has total control. When Ali is born, the Holy Prophet addresses the infant, Ya Ali, will you not recite Quran for me? Will you not recite from the book? Quran has not yet been revealed. Zahiran, the Quran has not reached the earth. Amirul Mu'mineen, as an infant, the Holy Prophet is saying, Ya Ali, will you not recite from the book? The child replies, Ya Rasulullah, shall I read for you Tawrat? Shall I read for you Zabur? Shall I read for you from the Injil? Or shall I recite for you the Quran? This is the Imam. An individual that possesses total knowledge. An individual that has total control of the Holy Quran. He says, فَلَعَمْرِي مَأَ الْإِمَامِ إِلَّا الْعَامِلُ بِالْكِتَابِ. That the Imam is none but the one that orders from the book of Allah. And this is what Amirul Mu'mineen says in that Shura upon the death of the second Khalifa. When they say to him, you remember the lecture on bid'ah that we did, that at that point they say to him, do you promise, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf says, that do you promise to follow the sunnah of the Prophet and the sunnah of the Shaykhain and order from the book of Allah? And Amirul Mu'mineen says, I swear by Allah that I will follow from the sunnah of the Prophet and the book of Allah. Again, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, he repeats it 3 times. Will you follow the sunnah of the Prophet, the sunnah of the Shaykhain, i.e. the previous 2 Khulafa, and the book of God? Amirul Mu'mineen replies that I will only order and follow the sunnah of the Prophet and the book of Allah. At which point then the 3rd Khalifa stands up and he says that I will do all 3, and they appoint him as the Khalifa. The Imam does not stray from the book of Allah. The Imam has total control over the book of Allah. The Imam is the one that orders to the book of Allah. You know the whole event of Ghadir. The Holy Prophet gives the longest sermon of his life. The longest sermon of his life addressing the Mu'mineen. It's a different matter. We only remember 1 line from it. Yeah? The Prophet spoke for over 2-3 hours and we only remember 1 line. It goes back to that point. That how do we claim to be the followers? We remember that 1 line, Man kunta mawla fahadha aliyun mawla. But we don't remember what came, we don't know what came before it, what comes after it. Then how am I a Shia of Ali? The Holy Prophet of Islam holding on to the wrist of Amirul Mu'mineen. He says, Ayyuhan nas, tadabbar al-Quran wafhamu. O people, O mankind, ponder over the Quran and understand it, and know that no one will be able or leave from it the ayahs that are allegorical. Do not ponder, do not try and understand them. Hold fast to the ayahs that are clear, and know that none will be able to give you the tafsir of the allegorical ayah except for the man whose hand is in my hand. Man kunta mawla fahadha aliyun mawla. This is Ghadir. Quran. Amirul Mu'mineen in Nahj al-Balagha, when speaking about the Quran, he gives 57 virtues of the Holy Quran. وَدَوَاءٌ لَيْسَ بَعْدَ الدَّاءِ. He says it is a medicine after which there is no need, or there is no illness. It is that thirst quenching drink after which there is no thirst. It is that place where the scholar can dive and learn knowledge and still never his thirst for knowledge never be quenched. What is our relationship with the Quran? What is our relation? Our Imam is Amilu bil Kitab, is the one that orders from the book of Allah. What is my relationship with the book of Allah? Or will I be amongst those individuals that the Holy Prophet will stand on the Day of Judgment? I of the Quran says, Ya Rab, my Lord, this ummah has left this Quran alone. I complain to you that my ummah is the one that has left the Quran alone. They chose not to read it. They chose not to ponder over it. Those that read it didn't ponder over it. Those that pondered over it didn't act upon it. How bad is it that I get to a point in my life where I knew how to recite the Quran, but now that I'm 20, 25, 30, I've got into a job, now I can't remember how to recite Quran anymore. How shameful is that? From a number of different angles. One, the fact that I've lost a piece of knowledge, that I've forgotten a piece of knowledge. The second is that I've lost the ability to pray, to recite the book of Allah. That's connection. That book, which is shifa'ah. That book that is defense. That book that just looking at it is a thawab. Hearing it is thawab. Then acting upon it. The Quran is that, or the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that thing that enables someone like Asif Barkhiyya to bring the throne of Bilqis in front of Nabi Sulaiman before even he could blink his eye. When Asif Barkhiyya is spoken about in the Holy Quran, says this is an individual that had some knowledge of the book. His some knowledge of the book enabled him to do Tayyal Ard, i.e. cover the vast journey across the earth within a blink of an eye, go to the other side of the world, take hold of the throne of Bilqis and bring it back in front of Nabi Sulaiman before he could even blink his eye. This is ilmun min al-kitab. Ilmun min al-kitab. This is what gave Asif Barkhiyya that power, that a little of that knowledge enabled Asif Barkhiyya to bring the throne of Bilqis in the blinking of an eye. Then what of those that are ilmul kitab? Those that have total knowledge of the book. And Imam Sadiq explains it. They ask him, what is the difference? Where it says Asif Barkhiyya had a little knowledge of the book, and that when we refer to Amirul Mu'mineen, he is the knowledge of the book. What is the difference? Imam says it is like a bird that is flying over water. As it dips its wing into the water and lifts it, a single drop of water goes on its wing. He says this is the knowledge of Asif Barkhiyya. But the knowledge of the Imams of Ahl al-Bayt is that sea. It is that sea. The Imam is Amilu. Ya Ali. The Imam is Amilu bil Kitab. The Imam is the one that orders from the book of Allah. What is my connection with the book of God? Can I defend my religion? Can I defend my aqeedah from the Quran? Or is it that, someone asked me a question, okay, quick, I've got Maulana on speed dial or WhatsApp, please help me with this question. This brother from another faith has asked. I don't know what to do. Even though knowledge is present. Even though all the information is there. Google has it all there for you. Type it in, find it, read it, learn it, implement it. Spread it. Zakatul ilm, the zakat of your knowledge is that you spread it. That doesn't mean, we just get any sort of hadith, forward it to everyone on our WhatsApp mailing list. Even this at times is an infringement of haqqun nas. 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, phones going off, you look at it, could be an emergency. No, it's just the brother with insomnia sending a hadith from Kanz al-Ummal or Usul al-Kafi that he's just found on the Shia toolkit. Or that someone else has forwarded to him. This is aziyat. We're causing problems for people. This is infringement of haqqun nas. If we look at it in its reality. And then on top of that, we're taking something that we haven't verified ourselves. We haven't read ourselves. Someone could put any sort of reference in there and we're forwarding it saying this is kalamul imam, this is haram. Because I don't verify it. I don't know where it is. I could be attributing a lie to the imam. Attributing a lie to Ahlul Bayt, the Holy Prophet, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will invalidate your prayer. Will break your fast. So we have to be careful how we forward these things. So the first thing is the imam is amilu bil kitab. The second is wal akhidhu bil qist. The imam is the one that establishes justice. He acts with justice. He establishes justice. Everything that the imam does is within the realms of the justice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the death of Amir al-Mu'mineen, when Surah Hamadani, she goes to see Muawiyah and to complain about one of his governors. Muawiyah is busy eating and he takes no notice of her. He sort of ignores her. She becomes angry. She raises her voice. She says, Muawiyah. Says, Muawiyah, I went to Ali with a similar problem. I went to Ali with a similar problem about one of his governors that was mistreating the people. Says Ali was between his mustahab salah. When he heard of my complaint, Ali ordered to bring pen and paper to him. And then he wrote a letter dismissing his governor from his position. Then she recites 2 lines of poetry to Muawiyah. She says, Salla al-ilahu ala jasadin tadammanahu al-qabr fa asbaha fihi adlu madfun. She says, may the praises of God be upon that body that was buried under the earth, and with it too justice was buried. This is Ali. Ali is that individual. Your imams are those individuals that are Christian, that wants to write about their life, writes a book about their life. Then he thinks what to title it. What shall I call it? It is it's a book about the life of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He is compelled to give it the title, As-Sawt al-Adalat al-Insaniya, the voice of human justice. A Christian. Your imams are the epicenter of justice. They are the embodiment of the adl of Allah. The imam is not one that is run by emotion. No, this is justice. That even if his brother comes to him to ask for extra from Baytul Mal, he picks up a hot poker, he points it towards him. He says, brother, would you bear to take this heat? He says, no. He says, well, know that the heat of hell is far greater. You want me to go there? This is Amirul Mu'mineen. Imam al-Hussein is saying to the people of Kufa, the Imam is the one that establishes justice. He fights for it. He establishes it. Then what about us? What of our justice? Or is it that I show favoritism to my family, to my caste, to people of my religion, Is it that I show favoritism towards my friends, even though they may be wrong? Or I show favoritism to people that are from the same city as me, or from the same country as me, even though they may be wrong? What about the justice with myself? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, our Shi'as are the ones that tell the truth, even if it is at detriment to themselves. Even if it is at detriment to themselves. These are our Shi'as. There is justice within society, justice within our families, then justice within ourselves. Have we established that justice within ourselves? Justice in the way that we speak to people. Are my words hurting someone? Are my words unfair to someone? Am I being unjust to my children? Am I being unjust to my parents? Am I being unjust to my friends? Am I being unjust to my Lord? Am I being unjust to myself? Dua Kumail, what do we recite? ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي. My Lord, I have oppressed myself. I have oppressed myself. I've been unjust to myself. Through what? Through the sins that I commit. Committing sins is injustice. Imam Hussein is saying, we establish justice. I commit sin and I establish injustice within myself. I'm on two different paths. They're on one path, I'm on the total opposite path. They're on the path of justice, that even if their family members come and ask them to change or move away from that which is just, they send them away and say no. We cannot do it. Have I established that justice within myself? Have I developed and formed my soul so that I am just? So that I don't show favoritism. And the only thing that matters to me is what Allah says. The only thing that I use to judge people is their consciousness of God, their fear of Allah, their proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That should be how I choose my friends. That should be how I choose who to be around, who to surround myself with. The Hawariyun asked Hazrat Isa, said, "Man nujalis, who should we sit with?" Hazrat Isa says to them, that sit with the individual, that when you look at his face, he reminds you of your duties to God. His words remind you of your akhirah. That face that reminds you of the wajibat, the actions and the words of an individual that remind you of your akhirah. Because when we don't establish justice within ourselves here, when we enter the grave, there will be absolute justice. There isn't any leeway. There is just total justice of God. There, when an individual is forced by Rahman to write his life's deeds in the depth of his grave, he's all alone. The soul comes back in his body. Rahman grabs him, sits him up. He says, I am an angel that is coming before Munkar and Nakir. Says, what is your role? He says, I have come to make you write your deeds. He says, Rahman, I have no paper. He rips his coffin, he hands it to him. He says, this is your paper, write. He says, I have no pen. He says, your finger is your pen, write. He says, but I've got no ink. He says, your saliva is your ink. Now write your whole life down. Write every single good action. Write every single bad action. He says, but I've forgotten. He says, you've forgotten, but Allah does not forget. I will dictate for you. You write your life. Every moment. Everywhere that I looked, everything that I heard, every thought that passed through my head, halal or haram. Sins that I have forgotten I had done. Write all the good. Write all the bad. Could you imagine? A whole life, 70, 80, 90 years. And from the moment you were born, until then, write your deeds. If we do not establish justice within our lives, that journey will be difficult. And if you want to look at the embodiment of justice, that's Karbala. Those that were by the side of Abu Abdullah, they understood justice. They understood, they had the ma'rifah of Allah, the ma'rifah of justice. Be it only a 13-year-old boy. Be it only a 13-year-old boy. Qasim ibn al-Hassan, 13-year-old boy that had grown up with his uncle. At the age of 3, Imam al-Hassan dies. Qasim and his brother Abdullah. Abdullah's musibah, inshallah, will recite on day of Ashura, because he dies after Qasim. Qasim is 13, Abdullah is 10 in Karbala. The musibah of Qasim is heightened by the fact that he was so dear to his uncle. Abu Abdullah loved Qasim so much. He'd grown up in the house of Abu Abdullah. A 3-year-old child, what does he remember? His uncle raised him. And so he was so attached to his uncle, and his uncle treated him as if he was his son. The night of Ashura, they say, when Abu Abdullah was listing all the names of the shuhada, and at the end Qasim came to his uncle, he said, Ya Am, oh uncle, will I be amongst the shuhada tomorrow? Abu Abdullah looked towards this 13-year-old boy. Bunay Qasim, kayfa عندك الموت? My son, what is death in your eyes? How is death in your eyes? Ya Am ahla min al-asal. Oh uncle, it is sweeter to me than honey. Abu Abdullah looks towards his nephew. He says, then my son, yes, tomorrow you will be killed as well. But know it, even the 6-month-old child, Ali Askar, he will also be killed. Qasim all of a sudden turns towards his uncle. He says, uncle, will these mal'uneen come inside the tents? Abu Abdullah comforts him. The day of Ashura dawns. And from the moment the battle starts, Qasim is coming towards his uncle constantly. Asking his uncle for permission, Abu Abdullah looks towards him, says, Qasim, you are the only remainder of the memory of my brother Hassan. You look like my brother Hassan. Qasim, how can I give you permission to go out? You are the shabih of my brother Hassan. He sends him away, and then Qasim comes back, and then he sends him away. They say it got to a point where Qasim now, Ali Akbar had been killed. Ali Akbar was the first to die from Ahl al-Bayt, the first to be given permission. Now Qasim sees that slowly the other youth of Bani Hashim are going out to be killed. Qasim comes to his uncle, asks him for permission, but now he asks in a different way. The Maqtal says, Lam yazal yuqabbil ar-rajlayhi wa yaday. He constantly kisses the hands and the feet of his uncle. Oh uncle, give me permission. Uncle, allow me to go out and fight. Abu Abdullah looks towards his nephew. He holds his nephew tight and they both begin to cry. Nowhere else in the Maqtal are these words written. He says Hussein held on to Qasim. They both cried so much for ghushiya alayhima. Both uncle and nephew fainted. When they come around, Abu Abdullah begins to prepare Qasim. They say Abu Abdullah gave him a sword. and he cut his imama in half and wrapped it around the head of Qasim. He brought it تحت الحنق, under the chin and over the mouth of Qasim, as if to prepare a person in the same way a person wraps a kafan, he prepares his son. Qasim ibn al-Hasan rides out into Karbala. يقول حميد ibn Muslim narrates, خرج إلينا القاسم ibn al-Hasan وبيده سيفه. Came out towards us Qasim ibn al-Hasan. In his hand was a sword. Upon his body was just a shirt. There was no armor that fitted Qasim. Qasim was so small. There was no armor that would fit Qasim. Instead, Abu Abdullah gave him a shirt to wear and then just a cloak over it. Qasim was so short that his feet would not reach the stirrup of the horses. Hamid ibn Muslim says, خرج إلينا القاسم ibn al-Hasan. Comes out to us Qasim ibn al-Hasan. وبيده سيفه. In his hand is his sword. Upon his body is the shirt. Upon his feet I saw there were two slippers. One of the buckles of the slippers was broken. He says the boy rode out to us. I looked towards the face of the boy. It was shining like the new moon. This child, his face was shining like the new moon. Qasim rides out in Tankuruni فأنا ابن الحسن. Those of you that don't know me, I am the son of Hassan, سبط النبي المصطفى والمؤتمن, the son of Rasulullah, the chosen prophet. وهذا حسينك كالأسير المرتهن. Here is Hussein. You have surrounded him, imprisoned him. Lord, he says, he stands there. هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن بين أناس لا سقوم ثوب المذن. That none of you care. Hussein imprisoned. Qasim rides out into the battlefield. He begins fighting. Hamid ibn Muslim says the child fought bravely, but they surrounded him from every side. They began to strike him. Abu Abdullah is watching. Hamid ibn Muslim says, a man by the side of me by the name of Umar ibn Sa'd al-Azadi, he says, by Allah, I will kill this child. Hamid says, I turned to him. I said, will you kill a child? Look, he's surrounded by them. They'll kill him eventually. He says, no, by Allah, today I will cause such a pain in the heart of his mother. Bear witness. He says he rode up behind Qasim. He struck the head of Qasim. فوقع رأس القاسم. They say the head of Qasim split open. Qasim falls from the horse. Everyone that fell from the horse, all the shuhada that fell from the horse, they cried out. They called out in a specific way. When they fell from their horses to the plains of Karbala, they said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, or alayka minni salam ya Aba Abdullah. But when Qasim ibn al-Hasan fell to the earth of Karbala, Qasim was so young that when he fell to the earth, he cried out, Ya Amma adrikni, oh uncle, come and help me. Abu Abdullah rides out. The Maqtal says Hussein rode out like an eagle attacking prey. He attacks Umar ibn Sa'd al-Azadi. He cuts off his arm. Umar ibn al-Sa'd falls. Abu Abdullah attacks the army. Now those that were on the left gallop their horses to the right. Those that gallop that were on the left gallop their horses from the right to the left. The army began to go for all over the place, running away from Abu Abdullah. They say from amongst the galloping of the horses a voice came, Uncle, no more, I can't bear it. His uncle, he says, I can't bear it, Uncle, no more. They say we stepped aside when the earth settled. وحسين قائم على رأس الغلام. Hussein stood over by the head of Qasim. بني قاسم عزم الله على أمك. Oh Qasim, it is difficult for your uncle that you called him and he could not answer you. And when he did answer you, it was too late. بني قاسم بعدا لقوم قتلوك. May Allah kill that nation that killed you, Qasim. They say then we saw Hussein, he bent down. See, when Hussein was reciting this and the dust settled, they say we saw the boy rubbing his heels into the earth, his hands moving in the earth. Abu Abdullah lifts the body of Qasim. وضع صدره على صدره. He places his chest on the chest of Qasim and begins to walk back towards the tents. Then the Maqtal says something ajib. The Maqtal says something very odd. It says وَرَجْلَيْ الْقَاسِمِ تُخَطَّانِ الْأَرْضَ خَطًّا. It says, and the feet of Qasim, they were dragging along the ground, making lines in the earth. You heard before that Qasim was so small that his feet wouldn't reach the stirrups of the horses. Tell me what happened to a child whose feet couldn't reach the stirrups of the horses because his height was so small that now when a fully grown man holds his chest to his chest, his feet still drag along the earth. They say when Qasim fell and the horses ran from left to right, the body of Qasim was trampled, the bones of his body broken. Abu Abdullah holds that elongated body of Qasim. He takes Qasim into the tent. The Maqtal says into the tent where the body of his son Ali Akbar was. He lies Qasim next to the body of Ali Akbar. Hussein sits down in between them. He lies down, one hand on the chest of Qasim, one hand on the chest of Ali Akbar. He raises his voice, he raises his head towards the heavens. Oh Allah, bear witness, oh Allah, bear witness that this nation have killed both of these sons of mine. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive. Qasim's mother Ramla, or Farwa, she's there in Karbala. They say that when Abu Abdullah was weeping for Qasim, Sayyida Zainab came in, Ya Abu Abdullah, oh Abu Abdullah, the women want to come in and mourn Qasim. Oh Imam al-Hussein, they say that Farwa Ramla came inside. She threw herself on the body of Qasim, Bunay Qasim. Some Maqatil say that all she could say was على الدنيا بعدك الأفا. The same words Abu Abdullah said at the body of Akbar, that what pleasure is there left in this dunya? Qasim, after you, what has your mother got to live for? Qasim, with your death your mother has died as well. Ya Allah, for the sake of that mother of Qasim, Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Ya Allah, those who are ill, especially those from this community, Ya Allah, those that are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those that are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Ya Allah, allow us to act upon the teachings of Ahlul Bayt and make our Imam proud of us. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Tashayyu around the world. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhirin, his true awaiters. In the end, there has been a request for Surah Al-Fatiha for the following marhumin. Sayyid Abul Hassan Musavi, Sayyid Abul Qasim Musavi, Sayyid Basit Hassan Musavi, Azamun Nisa Begum, Latifun Nisa Begum, Maryam Haider, Mumtaz Hussain Khan, Ahmed Ali Razavi, Hadi Ja'fari, Tayyaba Begum, Bilqis Begum, the Marhumin of the Musavi, Razavi, Nasir, Zaidi and Ja'fari families, Marhum Haji Qasim Ali Gokal, Zainab Gokal, Hassan Ali Nasir, Ruqayya Nasir, Mahbub Nasir. Allah, for the sake of this musibah of Aba Abdullah, please enlighten the graves of these marhumin. And the final request is from each and every one of you: honor their souls, enlighten their graves, honor the souls of your marhumin and marhumat, and those that have no one to recite for them, with the recitation of Surah Fatiha, followed by 3 times Surah Tawheed. But before that, the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Assalamu alayki ya Fatimah al-Zahra, Sayyidat al-Nisa al-Alamin. Assalamu alayka ya Hasan al-Mujtaba. أحسن الله لك العطاء في قتل ولدك القاسم. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله الآخر الأهد مني لذيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء وبعيد المدى، السلطان أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا. السلام عليك وعلى آبائك السبعة وعلى أبنائك الأربعة وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا صاحب العصر والأمر والزمان، سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. اللهم أرني الطلعة الرشيدة وغرة الحميدة، وكن ناظري بنظرة مني إليك، وعجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه، واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره والمستشهدين تحت لوائه. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.